What is happening, guys? Happy Sunday and welcome to the Dynasty WarZone, the People's Dynasty podcast. On today's show, a lot going on. We are going to wrap up free agency. NFL free agency comes and goes super quick. It's a week of fun, excitement, tweets, and updates, and then it's gone, but it leaves a big impact on your Dynasty rosters. We're going to get into that, but first, I'm going to bring in my co-host. You know him better as the man of the hour and the man with the power, Jerry Sinclair. What's going on, buddy?
Randall, it is a beautiful day. It is Selection Sunday. The first Selection Sunday without Greg Gumbel. I didn't realize it was going to hit me in the feels so much. He is the voice of that tournament, and as a Michigan State alum and fan, you know, this day has been a big day. 27 straight years in the tournament. Let's effing go. But I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Well, that's what I wanted to start with. You know, we always take the first 2, 3, 4 minutes and we talk about all of the things, you know, going on. That's not necessarily dynasty related. And like in this case, we're talking about your Michigan State Spartan Dogs. It's not been a good run of football over the course of the last, couple of years since that magical run with Kenneth Walker couple of years back, but you got to be excited. I noticed that Michigan and Michigan State are in the same bracket. That could be interesting. If it comes down to a trip to the Final Four. I mean, I know who you're rooting for. What about the rest of the murder mitten? What happens then?
The thing about our two fan bases is we are two of the most toxic fan bases that exist on the planet. So if a trip to the Final Four comes down to Michigan versus Michigan State, I don't know if I'll get on Twitter because it'll be awful. But we swept them in the regular season, beat them by double digits in both games in Ann Arbor and at the Brez in East Lansing. So if it comes down to it, the little March leprechaun himself, Tom Izzo, will certainly have his way with those yellow weasel rats.
Yeah, I asked you just as we went live. I guess the IU Hoosiers got semi-hosed, but I am not a basketball fan. I will fill out brackets at work. I like to donate $10, during March Madness. Well, in fairness, we do this. It's just you pick every game every week, no spread. You just pick winners. And out of 17 regular season weeks, I think I won 3 this year. So let's just say with the work money, I'm way out ahead, and it's poor form not to throw $10 back to make my donation because I know very, very little about basketball. And before we get into the fantasy football, we got a good people, bad tweets this week. Okay. Jerry's wearing a very special shirt because as we record tonight's show, it's Sunday, March 16, 3/16. And for about the last 20 years, this has been called Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. It's amazing the guy's been retired for the better part of like 20 years, but he was such a cultural icon in his day. So, Jerry, good for you for paying homage to one of the all-time greats.
I mean, a staple of my childhood. That era of wrestling was right when I was growing up, so it was definitely peak middle school Jerry's watching. Like, loved the hell out of it. Went down, watched SmackDown at Joe Louis Arena. Stone Cold threw Kurt Angle's gold medals into the Detroit River. Just staple memories, foundational aspects of my young life.
And just a fun guy. He's actually, I've always said this, he's the reason why I decided I wanted to do a podcast. He's not done here's how popular that guy is. He has not done like a live, like new podcast in like 8 years. His podcast is reruns. They drop like twice a week or whatever. They're still in the top 25 of all wrestling themed podcasts. That's popularity on a level that people will never understand. And if you're looking for something that may not ever be that popular, but it'll be pretty popular, you may want to check out FastDraft and the D-Up promotion.
I am proud to announce that FastDraft now has an all-defense game called D-Up. That's right, fans of IDP finally have a real money best ball game that they can play. No more manually setting up leagues every time you want to do a draft. No. Now you can play for 10 grand, 2,000 to first. Could draft up to 30 teams, all defense. And the best part, balanced scoring, tackles for loss, pass breakups. It all factors in. Just draft 6 defensive players, top 4 into your lineup every week. It's that easy. It's so easy that this isn't just for IDP people. If you love the NFL, then you'll love this game. And for the first time with FastDraft, you can sweat both sides of the ball on Sunday. So use your host's promo code to get a $25 deposit match, and you'll love this D-Up contest because it's about time we got one.
I love the Podfathers ads, and he's right. I mean, you and I have both been part of an IDP league with our boys from Australia for a long time. IDP, we have an IDP patron league. IDP is a very niche but very fun aspect of fantasy football. And now for there to be a best ball, type version, dude, I'm here for it, Jerry. And our promo code, WarZone, all caps, WarZone, one word. It's not really one word. You're going to get like the spell check. It's okay. It'll still get you $25. If you deposit $25, dollar for dollar up to $25, promo code WarZone. Jerry, I've got a good people, bad tweets for you. Are you ready?
Shoot.
This one, I probably could have saved this one for next week when we get back to the rookie talk. And speaking of rookie talk, I've got some really good guests booked in the next few weeks. Guys like Set and Math from the Dynasty Roundtable. A guy maybe you've heard of him. His name's Dan Williamson. He's great.
Let's go.
And then 2 weeks from tonight, we have the legend himself, the Podfather, coming on the show. So we are locked. We are loaded. It is guest season. We're back to rookie content after today's free agent finale. But I saw this one. I wanted to get to it because, it kind of caught fire. And Dave Kluge, been a while since Dave's made good people, bad tweets, probably been a couple of years. And Dave tweeted, if Cam Ward goes first overall, you should draft him ahead of Ashton Genty in Dynasty. And I was like, it was that record scratch moment that, what? What did you say? But Jerry, I just read that to you. What is your first reaction?
You know what's funny? Our man Theo Grimminger does his Dynasty Life podcast, and they did a 3-round mock draft. It was a little old, but I wanted to watch my man Theo sort of pick his brain because he's a brilliant guy. And he had on Dave Kluge and Alan Seslowski, friend of the show. And Dave Kluge had the first pick, and he went with Cam Ward, and that was his argument as well there. So at least he is living by his guns. I disagree. Here's my issue. Do I think Cam Ward is a generational talent? Randall Young? No, I do not. I think he has a chance to be good enough for me. I just think Ashton Genty is going to be a safe pick. I understand the argument that it's a super flex league and he's a quarterback and he has a much longer career longevity. That was a terrible sentence, but you get what I'm saying. And Ashton Genty is going to, probably give you 4 years. If you're lucky, you'll get 6 if he ends up being a star. So I get the argument. I'm not going to hate him because I usually do like to go quarterback in that spot. I just feel like passing up on Genty is wild. But that said, Randy, I'm starting to come around on you where maybe Omarion Hampton is a guy that we consider in that spot too. I know it's a little spicy, and maybe if somebody else is doing, good people, bad podcast takes, then I may be on the show for that. But I don't know. Like Omarion Hampton is, I don't think he's locked out of that RB1 spot in Dynasty rookie drafts yet.
I mean, in a startup right now, where do you think? And we'll stick with Superflex. That's the theme of Dave's tweet. Where does Ashton Genty go versus where does Cam Ward go? And the reason why I ask is because if you draft, if you want Cam Ward, someone wants Ashton Genty, or if you need a quarterback, someone will give you a better quarterback today than Cam Ward. They're just going to.
Yeah.
And you can maybe even get something back in return. I'm not anti Cam Ward. the more I hear about Cam Ward, I'm starting to think to myself, I'm not going to make the same mistakes that I made with Jaden Daniels. But as high as and it's hard because the range of outcomes with Cam Ward is so vast. Could he be in that somewhere between Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels, all the way down to Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson? Ironically, the quarterbacks in my favorite team. Fucking sucks. But it's such a wide range of outcomes, and I feel like no matter what Ashton Jeanty does, he's always going to get that deference from Dynasty gamers. He's got a built-in inflated value that's not going to go away. If Cam Ward has a bad season, is it hard to think that a year from now that other Dynasty content creators are not out calling him an Anthony Richardson type, or he has to have a good 2026 to avoid being the Anthony Richardson type?
100%.
This is so many things that goes wrong.
That's what I mean. Like, I think one of the arguments that they were using in the mock draft from Theo was, if you get taken first overall, you have a leash. If you have that draft capital, that you have a little bit of a leash, which is true to an extent, but also Anthony Richardson has pretty good draft capital.
Well, I think Dave was talking about being the 101 overall, like the first.
No, pick. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, you would think
first quarterback pick.
Yeah, but like, you think that would be a good, give somebody a leash, but I mean, we saw Zach Wilson go. Where'd he go? Second overall in the NFL draft?
Well, I'll give you one better. Baker Mayfield. He went first overall,
and he was cast off quickly.
Cleveland.
Now he's back. He's back on, but it took you some time.
Credit to him. He bounced back. He took all that negativity and turned it into a positive, and he's doing great. He's in Florida, and again, but if Ashton Jeanty has a quote unquote down season, he's still going to be highly thought of.
100%. Look at Breece Hall right now. Not that Breece Hall had like a bad season, but the narrative has absolutely, gone downward for sure. Still insulated. Jonathan Taylor, sort of the same thing. We've seen that for a couple years. He's still highly valuable.
Well, I thought it was very timely. We're getting back to rookies next week. I don't want to be too rough on Dave, but we got to give him some Dana White. So Dana,
fucking stupid you have to be to even think something like that, let alone say it publicly and act like you're fucking serious.
Yep. If you want to get rid of the 101 or you don't want to draft Ashton Jeanty, trade it. It's worth
bingo, and
it's worth a fortune.
That's the big advice. Is if you truly believe that Cam Ward is the guy that you want at 101, don't take him at 101. Trade down. Well, you get, even if it's a little something, at least it's a little juice, a little couple extra quarters in your pocket.
Well, I'm going to save my O'Marion Hampton hot takes for this Tuesday's The Sonic Truth. I'm jumping on with Theo and Matt. Don't know if Alan's going to be there. I'm sure we'll be talking about rookies. We'll be talking about free agency. But what was your big takeaway from free agency?
I don't know that I had anything really. Like, nothing exploded. Like, nothing changed dramatically for me. Like, I'm happy Justin Fields has a spot. That's the one thing that I'll say. Honestly, I know, as weird as it is to bring up Justin fucking Fields, who we have crapped on for pretty much the entirety of his career, but as far as like changing their value, I think he's the biggest value changer, because at least he has a job. And he's got Garrett Wilson there. He's got Breece Hall there. And if he gets in trouble, he's always going to have that little safety net right there. I think Justin Fields is the biggest value change. Everybody else, like T. Higgins, like he's the same. Okay. The running backs that we've seen get signed, which one of them makes you super excited that they got signed? I don't think anybody. I mean, J.K. Dobbins could potentially, if he signs to a place, but we've also been into free agency for how long and we haven't seen him. What's the market looking like? What do we think of? Do we think a long-term contract is going to come out of that? I don't really think so.
I'll dive into the Justin Fields. If you check out PlayerProfiler Now Plus, you'll see my girl Brittany. She came through with another beautiful. Well, it's not beautiful because our ugly mugs are on it, but a beautifully well-constructed graphic that has both Justin Fields and Cooper Kupp on there, because those are two of the guys that I really wanted to make sure we cover. You know, one of the takes that the Podfather had on a recent podcast, I believe it was the Sonic Truth, might have been Mind to Mansion. He's a big fan of the Devontae Adams signing. Man, your take of, you know, the Julio Jones, and then I added in Andre Johnson and so many others. I'll get to that, but I want to stick with Justin Fields, because I believe for the Podfather, from the Podfather's perspective, that's a huge win for Dynasty gamers. And I don't want to say I'm vindicated. I kind of feel like I got lucky. It's kind of like when you play poker, you get all the money in bad, and then you wind up, you know, getting bailed out with, you know, some, you know, consecutive good cards to help you win a hand you shouldn't have won. That's kind of how I feel about Justin Fields, because last year at this time, I was like, hey, he's going to sleep under the radar. He's going to steal that Pittsburgh job. And he kind of did. And then he didn't. And then they benched him for Russ. But I think I just got bailed out. I think I just got bailed out big time. It's a 2-year, $40 million deal. It's one of those things that with the salary cap constantly going up, they could make it a 1-year deal if they really wanted to.
That depends on how he's going to play too.
But see, I think he's going to play okay.
I agree.
If you look at that division, I mean, Josh Allen is the man. Without question, Josh Allen is the man. And then, I mean, we both like Drake May. We both think Drake May are, you know, upside plays. And then if you told me that the Jets had a better season with Justin Fields than the Dolphins did with Tua. By the way, side note, did you see Fat Tua tweets posted out there?
I did not.
My man was on a boat, looked like he was on a fishing boat, and looked like he had found some LBs. You know, a lot of people will lose LBs. It's only March. Vacation's been good to Tua. I think it could be really good. And I think if they do well and he meshes well with that offensive system, they brought in an inexperienced offensive coordinator, a guy who came, I don't remember his name. He came over from the Lions with Aaron Glenn. I think it's going to be a fun offense. And then it wasn't good people, bad tweets worthy, but our boy Addison Hayes, there's a trivia question. The first ever guest in the history of the Dynasty WarZone almost 8 years ago was Addison Hayes, but he was talking about how this is essentially a death sentence for Garrett Wilson. And I was like, I seem to recall DJ Moore having a career season with Justin Fields, and that was because there was no Rome Odunze at the time. There was no Keenan Allen at the time. Outside of Garrett Wilson, who else are they throwing to? Literally nobody. They may be 200 bad targets, but I'll take 200 bad targets. Yeah. And I think it's good for Breece Hall. I think it's bad for his pass receiving, but you gotta, I don't know. I thought it was a huge win for fantasy, especially for me, because it bailed me out.
100%. I will say there actually was another one that sort of gets me. It's the length of the contract that doesn't get me super excited, but I think Najee Harris in LA, I think that's a great spot. Now, maybe I just can't quit on him, but.
Well, see, this is what Jerry has been working on his co-host skills, because that's my big takeaway from this free agency. I'm looking at the tracker, you know, mostly 1-year deals, a few 2-year deals, including the 2-year deal that Jordan Mason got when he was traded from the 49ers to the Vikings. I think that's a steal.
Yeah.
Here's what it tells me, and nobody's going to want to hear this, is maybe the NFL head coaches and GMs aren't as high on this running back class as Dynasty gamers are.
Don't be a dick.
I mean, sorry, you can call me the Dynasty wet blanket if that's what you want to say, but I mean, and I got to thinking about this over the weekend, and I actually tweeted it out. It's like 2 years ago, people were super high on and writing up positive reviews on Israel Abanikanda. You know, as much as we like these rookies, guys, as much as everybody likes rookies, dude, that was 2 years ago. You want me to go even further back?
There's plenty.
You want me to go further? Because I can. That's the point, is that all of the jobs, with the exception of Denver, most of the good jobs got taken. Like, I liked Minnesota, and then they re-signed 30-year-old Aaron Jones and then traded for and paid, you know, Jordan Mason. You just mentioned Najee, 1-year deal. Now, that's not to mean that some of these rookies that, you know, once you get out of that top 5, both the Ohio State guys, Caleb Johnson, Omarion, Genty. Not to say that once you get outside of that, it just means you might have to wait.
Yeah.
To think that there's going to be 20 plug and play dynasty rookies at the running back position, they're going to land in some interesting spots, and they're going to land in spots where they're not guaranteed to be starters. So that was my big takeaway. What do you think about that? Obviously, you're not a fan because you kind of because like Dallas, they signed 2 one-year deals, and maybe that ends up being the rookie steal of the class. Dallas drafts somebody, they're going to be behind Miles Sanders, they're going to be behind Javonte Williams, but neither one of those guys are super healthy or super productive. And the one thing I'm looking for is the first year head coach picking their running back, because this is Jim Harbaugh's first pick of Najee Harris. I guess he kind of picked J.K. Dobbins last year, but for some reason J.K. Dobbins is unemployed. You really like the Najee signing. I agree.
And here's the thing. Najee Harris, when he went to Alabama, he had 2 schools in his recruitment that he was down to until signing day. It was Alabama, where he ended up going to because it's Nick Saban and it's Alabama, and the other one was Michigan. So clearly, Jim Harbaugh really likes Najee Harris. And on top of that, what did they do with their early first-round pick last year? They went with Joe Alt. They went with the offensive line. Who was their big signing this year? They went with Mekhi Becton. And also, what does Jim Harbaugh do? Like, what was Jim Harbaugh's bread and butter in Ann Arbor? Offensive line play. They won that award for the best offensive line 2 years in a row, his last 2 years. And running the ball. And so he's got a running back that he has wanted for the last however long, 8 years or something. They're starting to build that offensive line, and Jim Harbaugh in his soul, beating through every one of his horrible Wolverine veins, is running the ball. So he's got his guy, he's got his line, and that's who he is. Why in the fuck would I think Najee Harris is not going to be good? And we're talking about a guy that every single year he's been in the NFL has had over 1,000 yards with whatever the hell you want to call that offensive line in Pittsburgh. The one year deal scares me, don't get me wrong, but if he gets an opportunity, what's going to stop him from going, okay, here's 2 more years, you'll be pretty cheap because you're an old guy?
Well, and I mentioned the very talented Brittany earlier. She's actually in the chat right now, and she said she's already missing Justin Fields. She's a Steelers fan. They have no quarterback, and that's going to tie back to a couple of points that I had about Najee Harris. One, you mentioned Jim Harbaugh being a fan of him, trying to recruit him at Michigan. Do you know where Najee Harris played high school ball?
I do not.
It's a school called Antioch in California. And when he was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, who was able to see a little bit of that recruiting hype around Najee Harris. And then Jim Harbaugh has been a fan for a while. If he stays healthy, which Najee has done throughout his career, he's going to do good. He just write it down. And then the Chargers went out and they signed Mekhi Becton, who rehabbed his career last year in Philadelphia, won a Super Bowl, and now signed a 2-year deal with the Chargers. You got 2 really good tackles with Slater and Joe Alt, and now you're adding it's going to be a good offensive line. And the Pittsburgh quarterback situation has been absolute trash his entire career. Absolute trash. He's never had a good quarterback, and I feel their pain as a Colts fan. I mentioned the Colts quarterback situation earlier where since Andrew Luck, it's been brutal. And for Pittsburgh fans, since Big Ben, it's been brutal. He's going to be playing in a very run-friendly scheme with a good quarterback, at least 1.5 wide receivers that we really like. Quentin Johnston had his ups, had his downs. Ladd McConkey did really good. I would love to see them. I don't think he'll fall that far. Like, I could see Jim Harbaugh trading up for a Colston Loveland. But the supporting cast from quarterback to offensive line and everything in between, I did Najee Harris for the 2023 player profiler, I guess single season draft guide.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan of that one, Jerry. I think that one was a home run. I like that call.
100%. I mean, and you brought up the Cowboys. Right. That's sort of the spot that everybody's been focusing on in the draft, where we're hoping that one of these big guys ends up there because there was a path. That's out now. Let's be real with ourselves.
I think day 2 running backs took a beating in this free agency cycle. I know it won't be popular.
No, at least in the short term. I'm not going to say that some of those guys can't show up and then eventually take the job.
Well, I think a lot of guys lost day 2 draft capital. I think a lot of guys where they would have landed in some of these spots as like the second running back behind a veteran, in like the case of Dallas, who you're talking about, they went one veteran and then went back for a second veteran.
And like, I'm not saying they're not going to take somebody. At some point, they're going to take somebody. But I think Javonte Williams is good enough. And I know Miles Sanders has been ass for like 2 years, but I don't think he's really as bad as he was in Carolina. I think Chuba Hubbard's just actually good. And when you compare them, I think it makes him look worse. But not to say he's like a game changer or anything, but I think they're both fine. Like I'm fine with what Dallas did. If you're not just going to draft somebody, like if you're going to sign people, I think those are 2 perfectly okay guys to sign. It was just a whole bunch of to use some Gen Z terms, Randy, it was a whole bunch of just mid this year when it comes to running backs, at least. Like Rico Dowdle, I like Rico Dowdle. I think Dallas should have just re-signed him. He was looking fine. No, he goes to Carolina, where you got Chuba Hubbard. And you got my man that I'm blanking on right now, Jonathan Brooks.
Jonathan Brooks isn't playing this year.
No, he's not. I mean, which is why you brought Rico Dowdle in. But like, you have no hope of Rico Dowdle doing anything, and he was the guy that signed to the most money this year at over $6 million. And then it's just AJ Dillon to Philly, or like Kareem Hunt gets re-signed, which I think is intriguing a little. Like, I don't think he's going to be the guy or anything, but. Well, he'll have his weeks.
What do you think about the Rico Chuba debate? Chuba was a guy that I was buying up last year, like that quite a bit. The Dowdle does not bother me. You got to have 2 running backs. I mean, there are so few Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henrys out there. And when I say that, I mean true bell cow can handle 80-ish% of the load, and just especially Derrick Henry does not break down. Like I often joke with people, like speaking of Gen Z terms, built different. Derrick Henry is the epitome of built different. Like he has done things via usage and his size that so many others have done. Yeah, I'm not worried about Rico. I'm still in on Chuba. If you're doing if you're doing best ball over on FastDraft, I'm still in on Chuba.
It hurts him, but I'm with you.
It may hurt him a little bit, especially in the passing game. Rico's a pretty decent pass catcher. At least he showed some pass catching chops last year. That always bugs me when someone comes in. And we got some really good chat, comments in the chat. Paul wants to know, will Brooks ever start at this point? Jerry, what do you think? Will Brooks ever start at this point in his career?
I don't think Jonathan Brooks is going to start. And that's unfortunate. We're talking about last year's RB1, which, take that as a lesson, people. Just because we have an RB1 in a class does not necessarily mean they are going to help your dynasty teams. So don't get your nipples all tingly every single rookie draft. We always do. I know we do. I do it too. But just keep that in the back of your mind. But I really don't. I think he's good, but we're talking about a dude that already had injuries. Then he gets another injury. So we're not going to see anything for at least until his 3rd year. Randy, what is the success on that? Like, it cannot be very high at all.
I'm going to keep it a buck with you. People are still super high on J.K. Dobbins, and he came back and had a flash. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of the situation, as I'm prone to do with these things, is I'm going to set a calendar reminder as soon as we're done with this podcast, and I'm going to set a calendar reminder that in like mid-December of 2025, I'm going to go out and start trying to pick up Jonathan Brooks in Dynasty. Out of sight, out of mind. He won't be coming
out of sight by then.
Yes, he will not be on the pup. He's a guy that if you're on the clock in your rookie drafts here in a couple of months, and you're on the clock at like 3:04, and you don't love the players at that spot, just if that GM happens to have Jonathan Brooks on their roster, sure, shoot your shot.
You know what's crazy is I would both buy and sell for that right now. Like, and that's where we're at with him though. So I think Paul has a good question, just because what the hell do you actually do with this man? Because like there's part of me that's I'm done, and then the other part of me that's with you where it's like, okay, if I can throw 210 to 304 and just try and hope that he turns into something, like, sure, I'm also cool with that. But you know, I also have my opinions on that range of picks, where I always say if they fell out of my pocket, I wouldn't bend down and pick them up. So I don't know.
I mean, don't think I'm crazy for banking on a guy that was drafted 46th overall, coming off of a knee injury. Like he was I think at that point he may have been like 4 to 6 months post-op from his ACL, and then they kind of rushed him back for no damn good reason. He's still going to come. He's still going to be super young. He's still going to be super talented. Modern medicine. You know, you get him out of the country, you get him some stem cells, you get him over in Europe, you give him that Kobe Bryant, you get him down to Bioaccelerator in Colombia, you do some stuff like that, some of that Joe Rogan type, you know, physical therapy, and that kid can come back and be a steal. Because what are you buying? You're buying someone that we all agree is very talented. You're talking about a guy with top 50 at a running back, and where would he have went if he was healthy? Could he have been a first rounder? I mean, he went 49th. Sure. You're not banking on a bad asset. So Paul, I don't know that he'll ever be what we wanted him to be when we were drafting last year and we were super high on him, but he is someone I would 100% not give away unless you were offered away what would be considered overpay at this point in the game. But I'm 100% in on trying to get some cheap Jonathan Brooks. Jerry, was there anything else at the running back position that caught your eye from a dynasty standpoint? Anything good, anything bad? Because I got one little one.
If you got a little one, go, because it was a whole bunch of meh.
For me, again, I'm going to be trying to get veterans. I think I'm back in on Isaiah Pacheco. You know, if you can get him cheap, late second, early third. I mean, they did bring back Kareem Hunt, but they didn't really didn't really do anything to make me think that Pacheco won't at least get a start to be the starter there. It's the final year of his rookie deal. He's got every incentive to play well. And if he does play well, then he's got the potential to have more dynasty value. I'm not getting crazy. I'm not, paying seconds. I'd give you a third or maybe a player you like or something. But I think he was a winner. I think the Kareem Hunt signing was a winner. Could they take a running back? They could. I don't know that they will. Yeah, but I thought he was a slight winner. And I'll tell you another winner. I thought Chase Brown, kind of a winner. I mean, they only brought in Samaje Perine again, but at this point, these teams, like I said, and the Chiefs also brought in Elijah Mitchell. They could cut him for a bag of footballs.
Yeah,
so
who cares?
So plenty of these guys don't necessarily have to be huge blockers for the rookies, but yeah, those are a couple of guys that I thought that won, because I was a little concerned about Chase Brown, and I still am to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Chase Brown guy. Like, I think he's fine. As far as Pacheco goes, if that's the route you want to go and you want to believe in him and you want to rely on him, I think you just have to come to terms with the fact that it's not going to be for a long time. Like, and I don't think it's because they signed Elijah Mitchell or Kareem Hunt. It's just what we have seen from him. And they have lots of players that make lots of money on that team. And it's clear that they can plug in damn near 30-year-old Kareem Hunt in, and he can also be productive. I mean, we've seen,
but Kareem Hunt got less than Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell got 1 year, $3.5 million. Kareem Hunt got 1 year, $1.5 million. Like if you went and knocked the couch over in the GM's office in Kansas City, like $1.5 million would just fall out on the floor.
I mean, that's true. I'm not saying like Kareem Hunt's like this big giant barrier to Isaiah Pacheco, but I think everything that we're seeing is showing that Isaiah Pacheco is not really a long-term dynasty asset. So if you are going to try and acquire him, which I do think he was a winner in this situation,
it's
because
a contender's play.
It is 100% a contender's play, just because they did sign 2 people. So are they really likely to draft somebody? I would say no. They're definitely not going to draft anybody early. If they take somebody in the 5th round or something, cool, rock on. I'm sure dynasty players will hype them up and take them at the end of the 2nd because they're fucking bozos. But
I see it one of 2 ways. The only running back currently that's a Kansas City Chief that's likely to still be there in 2026 is Isaiah Pacheco.
I would agree with you.
And I would also hear the argument that the future running back of the Kansas City Chiefs is not even on that team. I would wholeheartedly buy into that as well. But we've got a lot to get to. I got to talk about 2 of my favorite players of all time, but I got to talk about Dynasty Deluxe.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams. And then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs. And then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to All In and get $25 off.
Yeah, use that promo code WarZone again, all caps, all one word, WarZone. And I heard on the Sonic Truth this week that the rookie guide, they're ready to hit the go live button anytime. So what a great time to get the all-in package. Use promo code WarZone, and you'll have the rookie guide soon. My number one hit, and I thought about this when he got released / signed with the Seahawks, my boy Cooper Kupp. This was before Jerry was even the co-host of the Dynasty WarZone, is when I was doing the show 8 years ago with John Sheps and Mike Jernigan. And my flag plant guy that year was a guy named Cooper Kupp. So I'm always going to have a spot in my heart for Cooper Kupp. He's got a new home, kind of an old home. He grew up in Washington. He played his college ball at Eastern Washington, going to be playing for the Seahawks. Jerry, what were your thoughts on Cooper Kupp and his landing spot? I did like the 3-year, $45 million contract. I got to be honest. I was kind of a taken back by that.
God, I was pissed off. I was so pissed off. Why you got to do that to JSN, man? What do we do? We got the same players doing the same things. Come on, bro. Like I just want this game to not be hard. I need it to be easy so that I can be successful, because if it's hard, I'm going to be bad. What can I say? I'm a glutton for my own success, and I need an easy button to do that. And having Cooper Kupp doing the exact same thing that JSN does, and they're just going to eat at each other. Oh my God, I hate it. Happy for the 3 years, $45 million though, because at least if you have Cooper Kupp, I'm cool just keeping him in my back pocket. I'm gonna see what that situation looks like, and I can afford to do that because I have some time to see what it looks like. But I hated the spot, Randy. I really did. Like I'm happy that it helps out Sam Darnold, and maybe it expands JSN a little bit more. And I don't know exactly what Cooper Kupp's going to look like because it's been not great. I mean, the other thing is we've sort of seen him do that in the same exact Puka Nacua situation where they did very similar things and they were both successful for a little bit. But, there was just other situations I would have loved to see.
I am not worried about this for any real reason. If anything, and I'm not turning my back on my first ever love in Cooper Kupp.
Seems like you are.
I'm not, but I heard an efficiency metric, and if you go to PlayerProfiler, again, this is part of having the all-in package. You can look at these advanced rankings and everything, and I'm looking at efficiency. And last year, Cooper Kupp 7.1 yards per target. His average depth of target is no longer down the field, but because he's suffering from so many lower body injuries, he's not a yak monster anymore. So do I think Clint Kubiak will get him involved? Yes. Do I think he will impact JSN? I do not. I think the one thing that would turn me off from JSN is if for some way, somehow, the Seahawks were able to land a Colston Loveland or a Tyler Warren, because those guys are going to work in that same area. You know, I think Cooper Kupp, if anything, is going to allow JSN to work in that 10 to 15 to 20 yard range from the line of scrimmage, which is great. JSN's fast, but he's not like, Xavier Worthy or anything.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of guy that now I could see the Seattle Seahawks also going first overall, like a Matthew Golden. Just let him run. What this offense needs,
I would feel better if they did.
What this offense needs is they need what the Colts have in Alec Pierce. A guy who literally runs nothing but 9 routes the whole. Listen, you're gonna get on that right hash. You're gonna get on that right sideline, and you're gonna run down the field as fast as you can in a straight line. We may throw it to you, but we may not.
My favorite thing about Alec Pierce is, like, we all have that fantasy league that we play with a bunch of people that don't really play tons of fantasy. And I just watching people just spend stupid amounts of their free agent budget or their waiver claims on Alec Pierce earlier in the year. Oh, that's what he'll always be. He'll always be that quintessential thing to me. Is like
Alec Pierce is like the quintessential, and this is such a lazy fantasy dynasty trope, but it's so true. He is the quintessential best ball wide receiver, because that dude is going to win you a game. He is going to win you a game. Maybe
nothing the rest of the month.
Nothing the rest of the way. And it's like a poor man's DK Metcalf. Just throw it up, Alec down there somewhere. He'll get it. But yeah, that's what they need. They need that field stretcher. And the chat's bringing up my other guy. Like, if there's a 1A, if Cooper Kupp is 1A, then 1B in my heart has to be Sam Darnold. Don't ask me why. The Ginger Jesus, he signed, and I said last week I would turn in my fan card if he went to Seattle. I mean, I don't love the choice, but what were your thoughts on Sam Darnold? Like, we're already talking about Seahawks, Cooper Kupp, JSN, your boy Kenny Walker, Zach Charbonnet. What does this look like in Jerry's viewpoint?
I'm fine with it. If I have Sam Darnold, like, I'm cool holding on to Sam Darnold, but I'm not going crazy for Sam. Like, I am pretty known, like, Geno pessimist for the most part. I mean, he had his 1 year a couple years ago that was awesome, but that's the other thing that we've seen with Sam Darnold is we've seen one season. In that one season, he had Justin Jefferson, and he had Jordan Addison, and he had TJ Hawkinson, and he had Aaron Jones running the ball, and he had Kevin O'Connell. Well, we are not exactly in that situation. And while JSN is good, he's not Justin Jefferson. And whoever the hell the wide receiver to Cooper Kupp is, he's a very, very old version of Jordan Addison. Randy, it's fine. Like, I'm fine if I have him. I'm not going to go acquiring for him. I think he's going to be QB 19. And, that's fine. It's not what he was this past year, but it's a usable asset, but it does not give me any excitement into the future. I hope I'm wrong, but, and the chat's brought this up a ton. It seems like they just want to run the ball a lot, which is fine. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker are both very good. And if they can block for him, then hell yeah, brother, let's go for it. But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's nothing great.
I had to throw some fantasy football offensive line rankings in the
It's not pretty.
In the interwebs, and Seattle, per Football Guys, was the 30th or third worst offensive line in football last year. They picked up one person in free agency. I don't remember who that was. I think that will probably be where that first round pick would go. We would love it. But I will say I did some research on this for our patron pod that I did last week for the patrons. And the research tells me that the Seattle Seahawks have 12 picks. And if I remember correctly, 5 of those are in the top 100. So they're in the day 1 or day 2. So they have 5 day 1 or day 2 picks. I do expect some improvement on the offensive line. And I will say, from like a Colts perspective, as a Colts fan, you go back to 2023 with before Shane Steichen got there, when it was oh my God, I can see his face. He got fired, and then he got fired in Carolina. Anyway, when they changed schemes, all of a sudden the offensive line rankings went up. If you call the offense to kind of work with the protection, I think it could be okay. I don't love it for Sam. He's going to get blitzed the shit out of him. I do like it for Kenneth Walker. I like it quite a bit, but I do want to jump.
Bro's got to stay healthy though.
But shout out to Jeremiah and Nick, who do a lot of the clips and things that you see on Twitter, because that was the one that they clipped of me last week, was saying that if Kenneth Walker could stay healthy, he'd be a top 5 dynasty running back for me. I stand on that business. I mean, the dude is a beast when he's healthy, and he's going to be playing in that Kubiak, which is a variation of the Shanahan offense. Clint Kubiak is the son of Gary. Gary learned under Mike Shanahan. Clint learned under it's all very incestual in there. But to see a guy like Kenneth Walker, and even to a degree Zach Charbonnet, in that zone blocking Shanahan style offense, I think it could be really good for them. And if the run game's good, it'll open up the passing game, take pressure off of Sam Darnold. But I want to go backwards. I want to go to Minnesota. How are you feeling today if you are owning several JJ McCarthy shares?
I have gotten, in the few leagues that I do have JJ McCarthy, I've been getting tons of offers. Now, mind you, the teams I have JJ McCarthy on, I obviously took him pretty early last year. Then he didn't play, so you can guess how those teams are looking, which is not great, which is probably why people are trying to get him, because I also have early draft picks that they want. You have to feel good because of the pieces that are there. It's, do I believe in JJ McCarthy? And I don't have a reason not to believe or to believe in him yet. I'm in limbo in that whole situation, because part of me thinks he's not going to live up to what Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold did, but also we've seen what Kevin O'Connell can do with quarterbacks, and we've seen him do it with Sam Darnold, who, no offense, Randall, was on the heaps of garbage that were left in the dynasty streets. He was in the DVD bargain bin. It was just him and Ace Ventura down there. Not that Ace Ventura deserves to be down there, but it's an American cinematic classic. But so part of me thinks all of the toys are there. He's like a spoiled kid that lives in the suburbs, and he's got all the top. He's got a kick-ass iPad, and he's got his Xbox set up, and he's got, whatever the hell else he's got. But if he's a shithead and he doesn't help us out, and he doesn't get the points for them, and he doesn't grow also, and I don't know that he's going to do that, because we saw such limited work at Michigan. It's not that he wasn't there for a long time. They just didn't pass the ball. I just need some passing from you, brother. I think he's got the talent. I think it's fine. If you have JJ McCarthy, I'm chilling. Even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, Randy, I'm still chilling with JJ McCarthy, because he's Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is 155 years old. He's got bone dust in his kneecaps and ayahuasca in his brain. And it's still going to be JJ's job at some point. So I'm cool with holding on to him. I think I'm chilling on JJ.
I'm going to start with saying that, first of all, I'm not here to tell anybody how to party, so I'm not going to judge Aaron Rodgers. Second of all, the more I keep hearing that, the Vikings want to add somebody, that tells me they're not too sure about JJ McCarthy. And the rumors could be coming from the Aaron Rodgers camp. It doesn't mean anything, but JJ McCarthy coming off of the full meniscus tear, full season surgery. We'll see what he does. At least they're doing it the right way. I mentioned earlier the Colts in their 15th overall offensive line from last year per Football Guys. Well, 2 of those 5 starters are now in Minnesota. They signed Ryan Kelly and they signed Will Freeze. I only know the offensive line talk because I'm a Colts fan, and I'm lamenting, how do you have a struggling young quarterback and then bring in Daniel Jones and then not re-sign the offensive lineman? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We'll go down there. I do like that. I like the trade for Jordan Mason. I think that's huge for him. I think that is being undersold in fantasy. I like Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, when healthy, and that's the key term, when healthy, is very productive. But I think they've done everything in their power to make sure this offense doesn't lose too much. It's going to be because, and maybe not his fault. He could come out and become a Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. I've not seen a lot of football. But J.J. McCarthy has not played a meaningful snap, in what will end up being like 18 months. You have to be prepared if this thing start off slow. You can't be pulling your hair out. You can't be frustrating. You can't be rushing to sell. If you're sitting on J.J. McCarthy right now in Dynasty, you got to expect the good with the bad. You can't get rattled by good camp reports. You can't get rattled by bad camp video. You have to stay the course. You've made a decision. You're on the J.J. McCarthy track, and you're not getting off of it. Let me ask you right now, and it's a little bit unfair. Sight unseen, would you rather have J.J. McCarthy knowing the offensive line, the toys as you called them, all of those things? Would you rather have J.J. McCarthy or Cam Ward?
J.J. McCarthy.
J.J. McCarthy. And is that because you're worried about whether it be Tennessee or Cleveland or the Giants, just not
100%.
Just not being – because I will say this. That's the one thing about going to a team like Minnesota is you're going to a good organization with a smart GM and one of my absolute favorite head coaches. So going to a poverty franchise sucks.
And honestly, that was sort of an easy pick for me. And when I say it like that, I think, okay, well, where would I take Cam Ward in a Superflex draft? And it's probably 102 or 103, depending what Travis Hunter says. Just saying. I know he tested as a corner, but I'm holding out hope. But so apparently I like JJ more than I even let on myself earlier. It's not that I am crapping on Cam Ward too much. It's just Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Kevin O'Connell.
That's
okay, there's that's, oh my God, like you can see the aura around it, and it's just everything that you want in a situation. So
I will say this. Again, I don't want to put too much pressure on the kid because I'm a realist. You know, people thought because I thought they should have resigned Sam Darnold means I hate J.J. McCarthy. That's not true. I'm rooting for the kid, but you have to ask yourself a lot of questions if he's struggling by like Halloween, Thanksgiving, because, you know, Josh Dobbs did okay in this offense. Nick Mullen did okay in this offense. Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold had career years in this offense. So if he comes out and he's struggling in the end, it's something to be concerned about. Again,
100%.
If you're in the J.J. McCarthy business, you're in it for all of 2025. And if you want to get out of the J.J. McCarthy business, now is the time. Now is the time because it couldn't be more positive for J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
So you're either in or you're out. If you play this game where I'm kind of in, but I'm kind of out, you're going to get squished. And it's not going to work out for you. I'm holding personally.
Yep.
I have too much faith in Justin Jefferson. I have too much faith in Kevin O'Connell. And then you didn't even mention TJ Hawkinson. As a former Lion, I think that's very disrespectful. Any other signings out there that you want to cover as we're wrapping this up? Because I'm telling you, we don't have a guest for next week. So I'm feeling a mock draft. But was there any other free agency? Or how about this? I'll ask you this. Are any of the remaining free agent wide receivers? You know, you got Amari Cooper out there, Stephon Diggs out there. Stephon Diggs was on Twitter on Sunday. Looked like he was working out with Geno Smith. I don't know. And the Raiders could use another wide receiver. I'm not saying, but you got Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Stephon Diggs out there. Any of those guys intrigue you? And is there a landing spot you'd like to see any of these handful of unsigned free agents?
No. I mean, Stephon Diggs is going to shake things up wherever he goes, just because he is a very talented guy. And no matter what situation he goes to, he is going to take some of that opportunity from the other people that are there. It is what it is. So not really. I think the only real, I mean, we talked about Devontae Adams a little bit last week, but that situation just sort of takes it Puka Nacua to the moon for me. I think Devontae Adams is good. Don't get me wrong. But as far as like Amari Cooper, bro, we're like 9 years into this thing. We know what Amari Cooper is. Doesn't matter where he's at. He's on his going on his fourth wife, I think. The fourth or fifth wife that he's on.
That's my thing with Devontae Adams. He's 32. He's on his fourth team in 5 years. 4 teams in 5 years. You know, again, I've seen this before, and and the Podfather, who's a big proponent of Devontae Adams, he's throwing out comps to Steve Smith Sr. and to Larry Fitzgerald. I go the opposite direction. I see Andre Johnson. I see Julio Jones.
Yep.
I see Jordy Nelson, and we've seen
Jordy.
I loved Jordy Nelson, another guy that I did real well. But it's tough. And maybe the Jets are giving up, but the Jets could have kept him. At a cap number they could afford because they have an affordable QB. They let him. They just cut him.
Be there. Yeah.
So I think the primary target. Go back and look at the season, like Cooper Kupp's magical season. That dude ate alone. Well, he ate breakfast with Matthew Stafford, but he didn't leave any crumbs for anybody from a fantasy standpoint. And if everybody thinks Puka is going to take the Cooper Kupp role, then who's Devontae Adams? Bobby Trees?
Woo! Hell yeah! Can't wait, baby.
I'm telling you, I do not love that one.
Tight ends, real quick, if we can. If
sure,
that's cool.
I do want to do some real thing about the 3 remaining guys. I would like to see Diggs go to the Raiders. I think that would be a good fit. I think Diggs to the Raiders, along with Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers and Geno Smith. That's my personal ideal landing spot for a Marion Hampton outside of Denver. I think one of those 2 spots would be really, really good because you need that kind of 3-down, bruising style back. I like that one quite a bit, and I really like Keenan Allen to go. I would like him to go to New England. Yes, he operates about a yard away from the line of scrimmage, but for some reason he's always open, always turning positive yards out there. And he just strikes me as the kind of veteran that could really help a young guy like Drake May. You wanted to talk tight ends. Evan Ingram?
Evan Ingram. Got to be Evan Ingram. Got paid too. 2 years, Denver. You got Bo Nix there. Cortland Sutton's getting a little older. Marvin Mims has shown some signs, but I think that's a good spot for him. I was happy about it. And I think the other thing where he left Jacksonville, so they signed Johnny Munt and some other guy who I don't know, but it's showing that they did want to bring other bodies in to replace Evan Ingram, but they also don't really want to spend tons of money on Brenton Strange, man. I mean, he's a guy we're going to be drafting in our regular fantasy leagues and startups. I'm going to guess he's going to go a lot earlier than we think. He's got a role, and we've seen him do well. So I think both of those situations help. And in our money league, I happen to have Evan Ingram and Brenton Strange. So that is great because I've had a tight end problem for about 6 years. At least I finally have some bodies. So I'm excited about both of them. I know I hate on tight ends a lot and they suck and they don't score points, but we got to start one of them. So we got to talk about them. And I'm happy with both of those situations.
And if I remember who, I would totally out them. It's why the segment "Good People, Bad Tweets" exist. They were talking about, because Sean Payton at the Combine said he was looking for someone in that Joker role. Sean Payton said, I'm looking for someone in that Joker role. And this knucklehead on Twitter said, well, Evan Ingram's not really a Joker. He's a big slot receiver, all these things. And I'm like, yes, apparently you know what kind of a tight end that the Denver Broncos offense needs. You seem to have a better grasp of the situation than, I don't know, the guy who calls the goddamn plays. And Sean Payton. Again, messaging matters. Where someone is taken matters. How much they're paid matters. This is a great spot for Evan Ingram for the next 2 seasons. And who's he competing for targets with currently? Marvin Mims. I love Marvin Mims. He's the shorter version of Alec Pierce. Might catch
That's so true.
Might catch 3 for 100 or might catch 0. They did bring back Cortland Sutton, but outside of that, who is he fighting for targets for?
Not much.
And we've seen Sean Payton's offense generate huge tight end production. I love it. I don't know how you couldn't not love it. I do think Mike Gesicki going back to Cincinnati's interesting.
I agree.
Like in that format you're talking about, and the format Jerry's talking about is we're in a tight end premium. It's 1.75 for tight ends, and you must start 2. So that's the kind of format where a guy like Mike Gesicki is incredibly valuable in that format. Mike Gesicki only 30.
Yeah.
So he's still got a couple of good years. And if for some reason they manage to move on from T. Higgins, if they can't get a long-term deal done or they wind up trading him for something, I think
his body.
Let me ask you a question.
Shoot.
You're an NFL GM. You're GM Jerry, not Jerry Jones, but GM Jerry. Take off your Tigers hat, put on your GM hat. Would you take for T. Higgins what the Steelers gave up for DK Metcalf? Or what probably a better way to say that would you take for T. Higgins what the Seattle Seahawks got for DK Metcalf, which is a mid-second? Because you don't want to have to pay him.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to have to pay him, I get it, because you're probably going to find a wide receiver talent in the second round. I don't know that I would. I think T. Higgins is a little bit younger than DK, but it's pretty close, if you want me to be honest. I'm not paying a first for T. Higgins, so maybe I actually would.
T. Higgins 26. T. Higgins 26.
Okay, so DK's probably only 27, I would guess. So, yeah.
That is correct. DK Metcalf 27.
Then yeah.
28 just turned 28. So, I mean, I'm not getting down to the months. You're talking between 13 and 24 months.
Not a big deal. I mean, it's fair. It's a fair trade, especially if you don't want to play him, because you can get an extra second round pick for somebody that you just franchise tagged.
Yeah,
I mean, if you really wanted to keep him for a long period of time,
well, if they were willing
sign the guy.
If they were willing to pay him an amount of money that he would find acceptable, he would already have
done it. Yes, exactly. And so clearly that's not going to happen. So I would take the second in that case, because otherwise you're just going to lose him for free and get nothing. And that's like the Lions and Ndamukong Suh all over again. Another quick tight end thing, if you don't mind, Randy.
Sure.
Juwan Johnson got 3 years, $30 million. Like, he's fine. Like, I don't hate Juwan Johnson by any means, but like, hold on. Let me look up Juwan Johnson stats.
Well, while you're doing that, I mean, tight ends under Kellen Moore have done well. Jake Ferguson, I think as a rookie or a second-year player when Kellen Moore was in Dallas, did fine. 1 year in L.A. with the Chargers, they didn't really have a tight end, but you saw moments. And then this year, Dallas Goedert, he did okay. Again, are you going to get a George Kittle, a Travis Kelce, a Brock Bowers? No. But, Jerry, can we get a serviceable tight end?
Do I want to pay $30 million over 3 years for 500 yards a season? I don't know, because that's what I'm looking at. 548, 368, 508, 159 in his last 4 years when he started, or he's played in at least 14 games every season. Ew. Like, he's fine. Like, if you're in a tight end premium league, like, okay, I'm going to get top 15 production. He's never going to ever win me a week, but maybe he'll score a touchdown and that'll be cool. If not, I'm going to get 4 catches for 43 yards. Yip-de-doo. Part of the reason why I hate tight ends, but
all right, we're going to go back to our GM hat because, guys, we're to the point to where we're mostly into nonsense at this point.
yeah.
But you've got on your GM hat. I've got on my GM hat. Jerry, I am the GM of the New England Patriots. And I call you up. I ring you on the telephone. And I say, Jerry, listen, man, I know you got this situation with T. Higgins. You got to pay Jamar. You still haven't solved the Trey Hendrickson issue. Your owner's cheap. He does not like to spend a lot of money because all of this signing bonus money, has to go into escrow at the minute of signing. Does Paul Brown have $200 million lying around to go into escrow? Probably not. Let me do you a favor. I'm doing you a favor because I like you. I'm going to give you. I'm the GM of the New England Patriots. I'm giving you.
This is exactly how Randy trades too.
Exactly how I trade.
But continue.
Yeah. I will give you pick 38 for T. Higgins. Now I got to pay him. I'm going to break him off that sweet DK Metcalf 5 for 150. I got to do that. That's okay. I got the money. I got the cap. Crafts will pay the money. I'm good. You essentially get a full refund. You used pick 33 on him back in 2020. You're going to get pick 38 for him. You got 5 years of service and essentially got a full refund on your pick. Jerry, do we have a deal?
Sold American. Not even close. Not even close.
It's a win-win.
Because otherwise, if you don't intend on signing him, which you don't, because you would have done it, that's an easy pick. And like you said, you get a refund. Like you're moving down 5 picks from where you got him 4 years ago. Essentially, you got that man for nothing because you're going to recoup that 100%. And here's the thing: even if you want to sign him, always going to be second fiddle. Always. So you're going to pay him like he's a 26-year-old young tight end with some production, which he's going to get too much money for that because he's got a better PR team than his numbers suggest. And he's going to be your second guy on top of the fact you got to pay Joe Burrow a ton of money. I don't know about that.
I just don't know for the life of me. I mean, I'm old. From a dynasty or just a content creation period, I'm an older guy, so I've lived through this. This is one of the worst ran franchises. Jerry, you're running one of the worst. You're employed by one of the worst ran franchises in the NFL. They ruined Carson Palmer. He literally had to retire to get out of Cincinnati. It's just been bad. It's just been bad, and I don't want to see that happen to Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow, there's a reason why we have general managers, and there's a reason why the player GM, the LeBron James, that's what I actually call him, is LeBron Burrow, because he's the one bowing up to get, keep T. Higgins and sign Jamar Chase. I'm sorry, LeBron, that's not how it works. It's not worked out very well for LeBron in LA, and it's not going to work very well for Joe Burrow. And I still believe that if Joe Burrow had not been teammates with Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell would be a Cincinnati Bengal right now. I 100% believe that. I will always stand on that. But fantasy and dynasty gamers love Howie Roseman, right? Everybody wants to give Howie his flowers, and they should. He's an excellent GM. He talks about building from the inside out, from the lines out. He drafts offensive linemen. He drafts defensive linemen. He's drafted some first-round wide receivers, but he's not paid all of them. And when he did, he had a quarterback on a rookie deal. And his owner, Jeffrey Lurie, will spend money like it ain't no thing. The salary cap doesn't really exist if your owner will spend the money.
It's true, especially in Philadelphia.
And it worked. It worked. So I would love to see, if the Patriots were to land T. Higgins and Keenan Allen, get out of here. That's great. That's great for the kid. But Jerry, speaking of kids, man, I'm ready to start talking about rookies again next week. We're going to get back to the young guys. How about this? I will not book a guest. We will leave next week guest free because you really don't want to be the guy or guys who have to, be the opener for the Podfather. When you go see, like, I don't know, like the Stones or Metallica or Beyonce or one of these all-time greats, right?
And then you got Jerry walking up on stage to open it up.
Yeah, I won't tell the guys from the Dynasty Roundtable. They have to follow the Podfather. It's fine. Let's do a mock draft next week. Maybe we can get some of our patrons from patreon.com/Dynasty WarZone. They can jump in. We'll do a 2-3 round mock, and we'll take it from there. But free agency comes and goes so fast.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Nope. Enjoy fake spring. It's supposed to snow here on Wednesday because of course it is, but we've been getting a little sunshine, which means football is starting to creep in. The draft is coming. Let's go.
I'm fired up for the draft. I mean, we got essentially 2 weeks left in March. Then you're in April. That's the month of the draft. So let's get rookie focused. We've got a good handle on these veterans. Let's move into some rookies, but I'm ready to get out of here. Jerry, thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Thank everybody in the chat for contributing to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, leave a comment. Tell Jerry his Tigers hat sucks, because you'd be right. But until next week, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.